It has been on my bucket list for years to write and create a design-focused book. I have always tried to lift the curtain on design, and I wanted the book to be just that. I wanted to share insights into my process and also the things that I learned with each project, and also to serve as inspiration for people. Interior design is an art form in a few different ways. In the art world, you have basic principles and parameters that help you kind of set off in the right direction for creating beauty. But then from there, it's up to you to imagine the possibilities. And like an artist can continue to add brushstrokes or edit, erase, or evolve, that is how I view interior design. And I think that sometimes we feel overwhelmed and there's so many things on the to-do list, but even if it's just changing the placement of your rug, that can make a difference. When I was deciding how to structure this book, I went back and forth between laying it out by project and by room. And ultimately, I decided to lay this out room by room because I wanted it to be a resource for people who are tackling one room at a time. And they can refer to the book, they're working on their living room, they can look at that imagery, they can see the tips and directly apply it. Yes, I have all of these beautiful projects that can serve as inspiration, but that there were tips and learnings and principles that could be applied to any style, scale, shape, your color palette, the texture. And so that was really important to me to make sure that I was pointing out things that I had learned that could be applied in a variety of different ways so that people can feel empowered to create in their own home. Well, I've taken a lot of risks. Now I can't think of any of them. When I first started out, sharing information was the risk. Sid encouraged me to share that information, and I was reluctant because it's not what people did. In the design world, everyone kept everything hush hush. And I did the opposite, and that is how we've been able to bridge this aspirational brand with approachability. You just asked me what projects did I feel imposter syndrome, and I think that the reality is all of them, and to some degree. Of course, I've built confidence and I have so much more experience and knowledge than when I first started my career, but I think that a little bit of humility goes a long way because it helps you continue to ask questions, because when you realize you don't know everything, then you seek more information, and also you take from mistakes and file that information away for next time. I think that there's lots of little risks that we take all the time, whether that's nudging our client to go with a really bold paint color, or maybe it's just pushing them to do an edge detail on a countertop. Those are risks for people. That feels risky, and so my hope is that those subtle details in the book will shine and people will feel encouraged that they can do their own, just subtle details that feel interesting. One of my very favorite projects in the book is our Hilltop Estate project. And this was for a client that we designed a home for years ago in Park City, and then they were building their main residence in an area in Southern California, and we worked with them from the very beginning on the plans to every single last detail, and we saved images for this book specifically, so there will be new imagery. Even though you've seen this project featured on Netflix and some webisodes, we really saved some of the imagery so you could dive in the book, and it just is a really special home. I learned the hard way very early on in my career. Everyone's version of modern, traditional, farmhouse, whatever design style you want to call it, everyone's definition of that is different. So at the beginning of this book, I walk through my process, and I share that mood boards are my North Star to setting the tone and feel of our project. We started creating mood boards before we get to the design boards with the specifics. And we take all of our clients' images and we pull our own images and then we narrow them down. We look for themes. We're looking for consistencies across images. Oh wow, they really tend to like light wood tones. Okay, so we're gonna find imagery that speaks to that. Then we narrow it down and we do that per room. And those become the language that we speak, and we make sure that our client is also on board with that, and that we all agree that this is the direction for the feeling, and that is the mood board makes all the difference. I think that our design work is often described as transitional. However, ultimately, the client is the inspiration, and then we put the Studio McGee perspective on their personal style. My aesthetic you can see in my own home, and that's always evolving, and that's why I don't want to be put in a box. My tastes are always evolving, and I think that many of the people that follow us are in that same boat. I love swapping out things on my shelves. I love swapping out things in my home. And so I love to look around at what's happening in the world and what's trending, and that's really fun for me. And so change is just a part of design. I don't feel like my design philosophy has changed, but my experience has, and because of that, my design style has changed. I mean, I've always loved light colors, and I think for me, it's more about loving natural light. And the trend at the time was a lot of bright whites, and that aesthetic permeated the design world and captured me as well. And it became something I was known for. Now, I think it's evolved to be more about capturing natural light through the windows in a home. And I love white, but I gravitate more towards layered whites like creams and just neutrals that can kind of just like pair well. It's not just a one note bright white. Also, I think that I have gotten a lot braver with exploring moody spaces. When I'm trying to bridge classic and trendy, I'm really focused on keeping foundational items timeless. And that means paying attention to shapes and materials that have been around for a very long time and aren't going anywhere. But then it's through accent pieces that I like to push things and create that tension, because I don't want our spaces to feel stuffy. And so having some modern pieces in the mix is refreshing. And I want to take classic design and make it feel current. And we do that through accent pieces and subtle details. I think that accent pieces can be arranged though. It could be a fun accent chair, or it could be a pillow. Social media is interesting because on one hand, you want to please people. You want to give the people what they want, and you, in a weird way, want their praise, right? I've built my career and this business on that engagement, and the fans mean a lot to me. And so it's important to me that I'm delivering the content that they want, but then you can't please everybody. And also, if you worked to please everyone, you would please no one. So you have to really be able to kind of shut the noise out to a certain degree so that you can focus on trying new things and not being afraid to explore different design options. So we launched our book that shared our journey as entrepreneurs. And now we have this beautiful coffee table book full of inspiration that is going to live in your homes, and I cannot wait to see how people style the book and also use it as inspiration for their own homes. Next, we have some very, very cool partnerships for products in the works. Also, I can't wait for all the rumors because I forgot my wedding ring today.
Oh no.
So,
I put that line.
yeah, yeah, we probably need that. I'm like, that's a wrap.